Hi, this is Pamela. In this video, I will talk about how to create a class that includes and uses appropriate instance variables, constructors, and accessors/modifiers. In Dr. Java, I created a class called Closet. It will take clothing type, color, and number variables, and print out the summary and use a method to give advice about that piece of clothing. And I will also test out some methods of the class to see if it's working well. To start off, the first line declared is public class closet. Quick side note, class name should be singular. And everything I write in this class describes what this class has done. This is public, so I can access this class in any other classes. In this section, I declare the fields. This is where we list all the related variables. The general format is visibility, type, name. I have 3 fields total. For clothing type and color, I've set these variables as string type, and number of clothing as integer value. These fields are declared as private, so that objects outside of this class do not have permission to access and alter the data, and it can only be done in this class. This section is called the constructors. Here's where object setup is written. It is called automatically when new object is created. The format is visibility, class, and parameter. For constructors, there is no return type. As for parameters, we can have constructor that doesn't take any, can take 2, or take multiple. If you want to set variables differently based on the parameter intake, then you need to write different constructor for each of them. For purpose of tracking, I put no values set for type and color, and number initialized as 0 for default for my no argument constructor. This will be default values when new object is created without passing any parameters. Here I have a constructor that takes 2 string parameters, close type and close color. Close type will be stored in the field type, and close color as color, and the number will be initialized to 0. This constructor is similar to the one above, except it takes extra parameter close number. This will check if the number of this clothing is valid positive integer. If it is not, it will set the default to 0, and else it will be stored in the number field. Now we have section for methods. Here we have the accessors, aka getters, and modifiers, aka setters. These exist because we have set our field as private, which are only accessible in this class. Therefore, in order to access and modify the content of fields outside the class, we need to create methods called accessors that return private field information and modifiers to change a value. So I've created a method getType and getColor to return the information in type and color field as string values, and getNumber to return the data in the number field as int. The setters are similar to the getters. For my setter, I've created 3 methods. Each one take one parameter and set it to the field I want to modify. The first 2 are straightforward. I take the input of close type and set it to type, and close color and set it to color. For the setNumber method, I take the integer close number parameter and check if it is positive integer. If it is true, it will be set to the number field and return true. If not, it will print out a line of explanation and return false. And this one I have used the boolean since we're returning the true and false flag. And here I write my toString method, which will print out summary of the class. This method will be called automatically when we use the system.out.println. I also wrote the method checkClose to give out advice based off on number of clothing using if-else conditional statements. If you have more than 5, it will print out you have too many. If you have 1, it will say you should buy more. And here's my main method, where I can create objects and call the methods I created above. This is a standard format. I've created clothing1 object without parameters. This will invoke the toString method. This will invoke the toString method to print out the fields. I've set in my argument, no argument constructor. And the output matches. No type of clothing set, and no color set, and 0. For my clothing2 object, I put all 3 parameters. This will lead to this constructor. Since I put -2 for closed number, it will print my error message and set the number to 0. So you put invalid input, it will be set to 0. So I have my t-shirt, black, and 0. If I want to change the number to 3, I can use a set number method and pass in 3. It will now change the number from 0 to 3. For my clothing3, I have 1 of blue jeans. I print out clothing3 and I use my check close method invoked in the method here. It tells me that I should buy more. And this concludes my video. Thanks for watching.